Hi everyone! I'm here to show you some fun techniques with embossing powder. The projects I'm showing you today feature the Orange Blossom stamp set. The stamp set is a lot of fun and you can get a variety of looks with it. Let's start with this thank you card. This card features some basic embossing with a little twist. Let's start with these splotches on the background here. Usually when you heat emboss you use ink, but we're going to use water. To create the splotches, you'll take an aqua painter filled with water and just drop a few dribbles of water on there. Then you'll take your clear embossing powder and pour it over the water. And then very carefully pour your excess powder back into your container and then shake off your excess powder. And then we're going to heat the water. And just a couple of tips. You'll want to hold the heat tool up high enough that you don't scorch your paper because you're going to be heating the water for just a little while. We're trying to evaporate the water and melt the embossing powder at the same time. And it's actually pretty incredible to watch. So be patient and give it the time it needs to dry up the water and melt the powder. And when you're finished, you'll have some swatches that look like that. Another technique I want to show you is how you can get any color of embossing powder by using our ink pads and clear powder. So you'll want to make sure that the ink pad you're working with is nice and juicy. So you might want to re-ink it before you stamp with it, and you'll want to move very quickly. So make sure you've got everything ready to go so that you can get the powder on there while the ink is still wet. So take your image, get it nice and inked up, make sure you get a good layer of ink on there, stamp it down, let it soak into the paper, and then quickly pour your powder on. Put the excess back in your container, and then you're going to heat emboss up like normal. You can see it gives it that nice glossy finish. It makes the oranges look nice and fresh. The next technique I want to show you is how to heat emboss on vellum. Our heating tool is amazing because it comes with two settings, and it has a low setting so that you can emboss on delicate papers like vellum. So to do this, we're going to take our vellum and a VersaMark ink pad and our greeting. Ink up your greeting, stamp it on your vellum. VersaMark is nice because it stays tacky for longer, so you have plenty of time to pour your powder on. I'm going to use a little gold embossing powder this time. Pour your powder on. Put the excess powder back in the container. And then we're going to melt the powder using our embossing tool, and we want to just make sure that we keep it on the low setting. And one more quick tip, you again want to hold your heat tool up high enough so that you still aren't accidentally scorching your paper, and you'll want to move the heat tool back and forth to keep the heat moving. And then here's the finished project one more time with just a little bit of extra stamping. The circle that we used to make the orange, I stamped on the background here to make the little polka dots. The next card features a technique called faux metal. And here's what the card looks like. And to get this greeting, I cut it out of the Lovely Words Thinlits, just like that. And this is what it looks like when you cut it out with the Big Shot. And then just use some paper snips and trim off the edges. And you'll get a little greeting that looks like that. For this technique, you'll need 2 pieces of scrap paper. One is for inking up your image and the other side is for pouring on your powder, because if you use the same paper for both, you'll end up wasting some of your embossing powder. We're going to use VersaMark for this technique as well, and you'll just want to ink up the whole piece of cardstock. Then we'll put it on our other piece of paper. We'll pour on the embossing powder. And then I've just got a pair of household tweezers to help me lift this out of the powder so I can knock off the excess. And then I'm just going to set it down here at the bottom of my paper. I'm going to heat emboss it on low to melt the powder, because if I put it on low, then it won't blow the greeting away, but it will still melt the powder. All right, once you get your first layer on, you want to let it cool because it is quite warm. And then you're just going to repeat this process. So you'll move it back over here, ink it back up again. And then pour on some more embossing powder. And then heat emboss it. And you'll repeat that process until you've built up a good layer of embossing powder. And you can see it starts to look really metallic, hence the name Faux Metal. Here's one where I've done 3 layers, and this is the 2. So do that as many times as you want, get it looking the way that you like. And here's all 3 projects. I hope you'll give these techniques a try. They are a lot of fun and they add wow to your projects. You can order any of the products I've shown you today by visiting our website at www.stampinup.com or by contacting your local demonstrator. Happy stamping and happy embossing!